once again, I'm going to just wonder whether I am live, as I always do. I have got webcam all set up, as you can see, and I will hopefully be able to see whether I am going live by watching my phone ahead of me rather than having to keep turning backwards and forwards to my laptop. Again, it all seems a lot more complicated than it really is. But I can see I am live and there's one person watching. That must be me. So I thought I would just carry on what's on my workbench at the moment. I have been making candy floss mice today, lots of grey ones, plain grey ones rather than the sparkly grey ones. Would you believe that a few people wanted to have plain grey ones, and they're just any colour really looks good with the candy floss. So thanks again to Dawn for making such amazing things. So and there's a delay here as well too. So I'm looking at myself, and I think you can see me sort of about 20 seconds after I've said. So mind job of the evening. But let's see if I can show you. I'm just. Do you see? I've got a row of cheeky mice all there with their tongues sticking out. So, of course, now I've forgotten where I've set up the camera. I think that should be it. Great. And now I won't be able to look at all the comments as we go along, but I'll just quickly say hello to Dawn. Hello, Dawn. Just talking about your candy floss, as you might have heard. Jacqueline's on the call. Hello, welcome back from your trip to London. Tabitha's here. Yes, excellent. You're here too. Fantastic. Right. Well, oh, I see now that you're just getting the adjusted camera thing, which I did about 20 seconds ago. So, yeah, I'm gonna make a wee candy floss bunny tonight. So I think I'm in the right place, and I'm going to make it with my brand new colour, which isn't really that brand new, but sparkly clay, sparkly grey clay, I should say. So this now, really, I will show you the component parts. If I don't, do you know, I have got so much stuff out about. I'm amazed that I'm able to keep working. You'll see that I actually only work in about a 6 centimetre or six inches square kind of zone. That's it. That's it. And I have a workshop for a 6 inch square zone. Anyway, so this is the new. This is it's not that new. It's just new packaging. But this is Fimo Effect. This is glitter silver that it's called. But although it looks pretty pale, it actually does cure quite dark. And I have mixed half and half. 50% glitter clay and 50% glitter white clay. And I don't know whether you can see the difference in shades. This one is paler, cures much at a much paler, much more representative grey. This one does go darker. So that's what all my faffing was when I was sort of coming up with going, oh no, I've just come up with this new colour, and it's just after everybody's asked me to make candy floss mice, and would you like to have a different colour? So anyway, that will be a colour going forward. So yes, it's a bit of extra work, but oh, they're so cute, so it's definitely worth it. So I have, here's one I prepared earlier. This is 10 grams of ready mixed concrete, I kind of want to say, but that's not right. 10 grams of my glitter grey, glitter, I can't even speak tonight. Do you know, Enrique's still away in Mexico and won't be coming back until a week on Thursday. He's had to sort of stay on a little bit longer, so that'll have been 6 weeks. So I don't really get to speak to anybody very much except you guys and my occasional choir outings, and if Hayley's in, then I'll speak to her too. But usually when I have to speak for a protracted period of time, it's like blah, 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 blah. So I'm just blurring at you, and I'm sure there'll be some squirrel moments as well. I'm sure you'd be very disappointed if there weren't. So well, Pamela's here too. Oh, I'm just reaching back over. Pamela's here. Hello, Pamela. And Anne-Marie is here. Won't play for you. Oh, well, fingers crossed you get back on, because I think everybody else can see it. So who knows? Oh, Lorna's here as well. Nate is playing Animal Crossing. Funnily enough, I'm going to be playing Animal Crossing too, but just the wee creature version of Animal Crossing. So, Right, I don't know that. Have I ever made a bunny? Can you remind me? I don't think I have on a demonstration. Um, I'm not entirely sure. Possibly I have. But anyway, this is me. I have started making a few extra Candyfloss creatures to stockpile for the event, which I will have at the end of the month as per usual. And this month as well, it's a busy month actually. I mean, for all that I really do, I am missing Enrique very much, but it has meant that I've been able to crack on and keep going with the calendar scenes, because I've only got 3 and a bit weeks left now before Holly comes down to have a day's photography session with me. But progress is being made. So I have now made January, February, March, July, August, and October scenes. So 6 down, 6 to go. It feels like quite a lot. But I know what I'm going to be doing with them all, with the possible exception of April, and that's more of a vague idea, and I'll just let them tell me what they want to be. Yeah, it'll all be fine, but some of them will be in little rooms, and some of them will just have landscapes, and obviously one of them will have a seascape. Now, I'm trying to squish out, I'm not really creating a slug, like the new Querna slug. I am trying to squish out as much of the bubbles, air bubbles, as possible. It's one of, well, I'm sure I've said to you before, it's such an important thing to do, because if you leave air bubbles in the clay, as anybody here who works with polymer clay, you will know, if you leave any air bubbles at all, then it'll expand. Hot air expands when it's in the oven, and it'll pop out, and it'll just look not nice. And there's nothing much you can do about them. You can scrape off the top and refill, but it's not ideal. So the better option is just to try and get rid of as many air bubbles to begin with, if you can. Now, thankfully, I've been working with a lot of grey clay, so my hands are relatively flob-free. But I'm sure that there will still be some about. And the good thing with glitter clay as well, actually, it is a bit more forgiving on the flob front than other colours of clay, certainly white, shall we say. Right, so hopefully I have pricked enough of the air bubbles. I'm just going to roll him into a ball. Oh, goodness me. All right, and I'm just taking the opportunity to reach over and say, Emma is here as well. Hello, Emma. Hello to you and to your gran. And Amory is back on the call. Fantastic. 3, 2, 1. You're back in the room. Right. So this is my the bunny to be. So now with the bunnies, I've got to I can't make them exactly as I normally make the bunnies, because their heads have got to be tilted back a little further than usual, because obviously they're having a good sook at the candy floss. So I'm shaping the head so that it's back a bit. Now that's easily done just by placing the eyes further up and back than they would normally be. So, and this is how I position them. If like a mouse is looking off to the left, then I make the mouse, it's all in the body shape. It's all the way that the body, trying to do it as realistically, or as, that's not quite the right word, what's the word? So that there's internal consistency. Do you know what I mean? Not really. Anyway, I think I know what I mean, but it's got to look as though it's as moving, as though the mouse is moving or the bunny's moving or it's in the right position. Because if you just have them sort of standing there and staring straight forward with their arms sticking out, then it's just a bit weird. It's not very, they're not alive then, are they? And I've still managed to miss a couple of the bubbles. That's fine. Now I'm just pressing him down at the beginning, just to sort of give him a flat tummy. Is what I'm doing now, is going to shape his legs, his back legs, because he's obviously sitting up on his haunches. And I don't know whether you can see that. I can see the bunny starting to appear now, and he's definitely looking up into the sky, a bit of a moon gazing here. And actually it's been a long time since I've made a moon gazing here. Might have to do another one at some point. I don't know whether you remember, I did a stone carving course years ago. Gosh, how long was that? Gosh, at least, it was before I met Enrique, that's for sure. So that must be at least 7, 8 years ago. Anyway, I had good fun, and I made a moon gazing hare, and I made a little mouse. And the first day, it was a 2 day thing, and I just couldn't get on with the with carving a giant block of stone. It was just taking forever. But then it was oh no, what's her name? She does amazing work. I'll remember. I'll stop having a squirrel moment, and I shall remember. Um, but she's an amazing stone sculptor. But she found some small scraps of limestone for me, just like little chips, like chalk, basically. Um, and that was great. I could actually carve it just without using a hammer and chisel. I could just carve it with sculpting tools, and that I was in my element then. I loved it. It sort of came out with this little bunny and with this little mouse. So I still have the photos. I think they're on my Flickr page. Of course, everything's on my Flickr page. It's worth checking out if you have several hours to spare at various points. But yeah, that was good fun. I'd forgotten about that. Anyway, moon gazing here. There we go. Oh, just need to even up. So what I'm doing here is I'm just marking with this. This is one of my many all-purpose tools. So basically, I'm just marking where the haunches are, just to give them some definition. I started doing haunch definition. Gosh, when was that? I don't know. It's been a couple of years now, but if you have a look at some of my early bunnies and early guinea pigs, they don't have haunches. Mind you, I started making bunnies and guinea pigs when they were just sitting down with their paws sticking out in front of them, which I still do on occasion. But most of them now have grown up and stand up a little bit more. Right, so I'm just kind of using my fingers just to sort of blend off the edges, because I've left quite a sort of a sharp imprint, but I don't want it to be a hard line, as it were. And I've got to sort of bring his tummy in, because he's going to be standing on his paws. There we go. Right, and then I can sort of shape the legs, and I can bring tuck his bum in as well, and that sort of creates the curvature of the spine as well. Really, when I'm talking about it, I haven't sort of sat down and deliberately worked out how I'm going to do this, but this is just how they seem to be, basically. Right, so that's pretty good for stage 1, and if I roll him round like that, I hope you can see him. Actually, I'm not even checking camera position, so, and I can't see comments, so hopefully it's not, hopefully I'm in the right angle anyway. Right, so what I'm going to do now, he needs to have his eyes, so I'm going to just now I have made all his, I've cut out the chops, I've cut out the ears and the paws and all the rest of it. So I always measure where the eyes are in relation to the chops. Now haven't glued the chops on here yet. It's just sticking on with the pressure of the clay. But that means that I have a good idea of where the eyes should be, basically, and I can just bring them off. Now you'll notice my bunny has no teeth. That's because he's going to be sucking candy floss. and I have tried it both. You want to not fall back over like that. I have tried it with like having, I think, what was the last bunny? It was the bunny with the birthday cupcake. That was it, because they were another ones that was sort of blowing out the connell. Blowing out the connell, as they would say in Scotland. It's been a long time since I've tried to say anything like that, and perhaps I won't be trying to say that ever again, because there's far too many people like Jacqueline on the call who will pick me up on my accent. Right, I'm now coming in very close. I don't know whether I'm in the way, but I am just doing my usual try and find 2 beads exactly the same size, and they can be a little bit bigger than mouse eyes, because there's obviously there's more clay. You wouldn't think it, but actually having, the difference between a 6.3 gram mouse and a 10 gram bunny, it's quite substantial. But you don't notice it so much with the mice because they're standing upright, so they tend to be as tall as the heftier creatures. Oh, excuse me. This is what happens when your voice has been disused. I was round at Friends on Friday night. We had a lovely evening. We sang, we played, because for those who don't know, I play piano and I play the flute and I sing as well. So we played trio sonatas. You know, I've got a friend who plays, these are two people from the choir. So I had, one of them plays violin, one of them plays cello. So the three of us were playing, Purcell and Corelli trio sonatas first of all, and then we did some quartets because Chris, who plays the cello, his wife sings as well. So we were doing some really nice 4-part stuff. It was super, but oh, my voice was a wee bit croaky at the end of it. And then through disuse, doesn't help really. Right, the eyes are in. Now, what I normally do now, before I put in any of the feet, I will sort out the ears. Now, the ears, I have made, I don't know, I feel that I've kind of told you this before, but I can't remember. I made myself an ear shaping tool years ago, and it's just a bit of scrap clay that I've put a raised oval bit in the middle. So this is how I shape the ears, because it saves, I used to do it with the clay shaper, and that just took forever to do. So what I do is I just sit it at the end of the finger. It's just the stickiness of the clay that holds it on. I use this is cornstarch or corn flour, and this stops this part of the mould. It's not really a mould, but it stops it from sticking in the inside of the ear. So this is what I do with every ear. So, and I have to, and it's better to put it on the mould rather than on the ear. Sorry, am I? I can see myself. I'm kind of waving. Oh, I don't think I need to come down a little bit, don't I? I'm not quite so in the camera range. Oh, my hands are in the way too. This is the trouble because I work on such a small scale. Unless I got a professional camera person to come along and, you know, set me up with all sorts of, I don't know, gadgetry and techno wizardry. So we'll just have to do it the best way I can. So that's one. So I don't know whether you saw any of that process. I'll do it again a bit more, with a bit more thought to the camera this time. Right, okay, so here I am, ear, mould, and then all I do is actually I just position it at the end. It doesn't actually shape exactly, but then I'm kind of pushing the edges round, so it doesn't take an awful lot. So I'm actually, rather than pressing the mould into it, I'm curving the ears round the mould, if that makes sense. And periodically, and then I just sort of press it out at the end, and that gives me a nice ear shape. Periodically, I need to scrape this because the amount of like flob, old bits of clay, I probably need to make a new one, to be honest. Do you see how all that's coming off? That is old clay from various, you know, hundreds and hundreds of bunny ears over the years. So periodically, I just give it a bit of a scrape down, and then a brush off with my I must hoover in here. I'm sure I say that every time, but the amount of stuff that I just stick on the floor, it's a bit disgusting really. But it's a lovely wooden floor, so it disguises all the flob very, very well. A bit too well, really. Right, I have ears. I have ears. Right, and the little bunny's looking up at me, kind of going, oh, you've got ears. Let me hear, and let me do everything else, actually. You can only see just now. So, right, so to form the bunny ear, I just use my clay shaper, lightly push it at the bottom, just to curve it in. So it's a bit like the mouse ears, but these are much, much thicker and not obviously as round as they are. But all I want to do is to make sure that I've got a thick enough part at the bottom that's going to provide a good enough stick. I'm sure there's a word, adherence. Whatever it is, anyway, just so that I can create a good join between the ears and the base. And I'm just making sure that the inner ears are all nicely flattened, that the bunny shape is intact. That's fine. So I now have bunny ears ready to go. So I need to cut them now. I cut the end. And this is where I kind of do two, these are, I don't know what angle, it's not quite 45 degrees. Oh, I haven't showed you, in fact. I might show you at the end when we're about finished. But I remember the disgusting pile of new brain, which turned out to be mouse tail tips. Well, I also have an even bigger pile of ear tips. Now these are that little bit that I've cut off the bottom of the ear. That's where they all go. And periodically I scoop them up, roll them together, and I use them as scrap clay for moles. I haven't made moles for ages. I need to make myself a mole cane at some point. Maybe I'll do that as an event, a demonstration. Might do that. Right, so we have ears. I have just roughened the bottom and put some of the medium extender, which is so good for putting raw clay together and fixing it. And then it's just a question of sticking it on. And because he's looking up, they need to go a little bit further back than they do normally. All right. And it needs to be brought forward a little bit. And then it's a question of blending it. Now, I need to get, to be honest, I very rarely have instances of bunny ears breaking, or nobody tells me about them if they do, put it that way. Can you see this okay? Am I right position again? I keep forgetting to look up at my phone, which is, as I say, about 20 seconds behind. So that's the inside of the ears done. But to make sure that the join is super good, then what I usually do is just use the end of my wonder tool and just pull the clay down into the join at the base of the ears. And that does make it, oh, I haven't finished quite yet, but this really does help to make it a much stronger join than would otherwise. Just sticking clay, pushing it in, hoping for the best, it's going to break. It's going to break at some point. But this, because I'm actually blending clay into clay, then it's kind of meshing the two. I can't do this so much with mouse ears because they're too small and a bit thinner than bunny ears, but I can do it with bunny ears, which is great. And bunny ears obviously are a bit more prone to breakage because they stick out more. Right, and then just to finish the job, I will put on a little layer. This is why bunnies take quite a while. They are quite work intensive really. And keeping an eye on the time it's 8:25 already, for goodness sake. Does anybody else find that the time is just rushing by at a great rate of knots? Anyway, so by doing that, and I'll just blend it out in a wee second, but that basically will bake solid again, so it's a good way of, as I say, strengthening the join as much as possible. And then just smoothing out the edges. And because he's leaning back so much, then the ears can kind of flip back a little bit too. I love it. The ears can make such a difference with how they're posed. Sorry, just conscious that my wet wipe is probably massively in the way. Now, what I normally do here as well, before I will put his tail, I don't want to say aperture, but so that the little bobtail can sit properly, by making the indentation here, it will look like a proper bobtail. It's really good. Oh, this is a cutie, I have to say. This is a cute bunny. Right, so I'll put his paws on first. Now these are just his lower paws. So I've just cut out little circles, which I then shape between fingers. I probably need an overhead camera, maybe that would be better, but oh, can you imagine me let loose with anything more more technologically minded than this webcam. This is enough for me. But do, oh gosh, and I can't even say shout at me if I go off camera because I forget and I can't hear you. Anyway, right. So I've just blended those to a slight teardrop shape, and then, and they're thinner than they are because if the bunny's sitting down, obviously his paws are really big, but standing up, most of his paws are under his body, so the paws are a little bit smaller. And then again, I'm using the extender medium. This stuff lasts forever. This has lasted me, I don't know, about 3 years, 2-3 years. I've got another jar, but I'm eking this one out as much as I possibly can. Right. So then I'm just positioning one bunny foot. There we go. I'm making sure that he's stable with it. Now, because he's sort of leaning back and he's going to have a big mouthful of candy floss, I'm spraying his spreading his legs. That sounds worse than it meant to. Sort of having them a bit further, a bit wider apart than they would normally be. Now, and he's a bit unbalanced here, so I'm going to put his bobtail on before he goes into the oven. I might not have time to finish them all, as seems to be the case. And then just give him his toes. Just 2 little nicks with the blunt end of the scalpel blade. Right, now this is where I need to judge where his, I haven't given him his tummy. Forgot about his tummy. Now this is sparkly white clay. Sparkly white clay, when it's rolled out thin, bakes to almost a translucent finish. So you really want the brightness of the clay. So what I've done for sparkly white tummies, which I'll be doing for the sparkly grey mice as well, is I have put together a thin layer of normal white clay on the back of sparkly white clay. And that works really well actually, because then you get the opacity, the opaqueness of the normal white clay, but you get the sparkles on top. So it's a wee trick that I learned a long time ago after doing, I think it was, I was trying to do sparkly clay for the tops of Christmas puddings or something. Now all I'm doing is just very, very gently teasing it into more of a bunny tummy shape. And then it's just a question of finding the best position. There we go. And then making sure that it's as in the right place as possible. Now, I always blend these with the metal end of my clay shaper, and that just makes sure that the clay is fully adhered and also fully joined. And I can also squish out some of the clay as well to make sure that the shape is right. So, right, we have bunny tummy. Completely sorry, mate. Didn't mean to forget about your tummy. Right, so this is where I gauge where the mouth is going. So I need to again just put the chops up there and see, it's bunny. He's a bunny. And then I need to mark where his mouth is going to go, which is just under, like literally. Now this is where it looks a bit odd. Okay, sorry. It really does look very strange. But basically, and I think I'm going to use my 5mm knitting needle for this, just so he's got a big enough mouth to put his tongue in. And by pulling the bottom lip forward a little bit, you see how I'm actually creating a lip. I don't know whether you can see that or not, but there is. He has a tiny bottom lip. So now I need to put in his tongue. And this I use the little offcuts of mouse tails. And it's a bit trial and error as to the size of the tongue. I mean, you know, the cheeky mice all lined up there. And I'm just slightly sharpening the end of his tongue to go in. There we go. No, I need to give him chops because he just looks weird now. So a little bit of liquid clay, and then he needs to just up a little bit. There we go. And what I shall do now is I have a smaller clay shaper, so this is how I fix the tongues more. So it's coming in from the bottom and then pulling it down from the top and just giving it a little indentation. And there is a little bunny with a tongue sticking out. Does he not just make you smile? Of course, he's now covered in flob. Of course. Oh, sorry. I keep forgetting, and I'm kind of bringing him up close so I can actually see what I'm doing. We might have time if you want. If you're happy to stay on for another 5 minutes or so, then I can give him his candy floss, and then I can finish him off properly tomorrow. And he will, as I say, he will join the shop. He'll hop into the shop along with some other candy floss creatures, and maybe another extra mouse or two once I finish them. But in between all this, in between making the candy floss mice, I'm also doing my best to work on the calendar scenes too. As I say, 6 more to go. Kind of doing them at weekends at the moment, but I will just do them when the time writes when the time arrives, when the inspiration strikes, is what I'm trying to say, I think. So this is me making his hands to be clasped together, and I've put a wee touch of liquid clay between them, because it's a bit of an interesting placement thing that I have to do to get it right. So again, a little bit of polymer clay. It's kind of all the prep work that you do to begin with. And now I'm using my very old and very scratty Sobo glue. But the idea of this, let's see if I can do this. It really is quite old and done now. But it dries and sticks remarkably well. So this is where he's going to be holding his stick of candy floss. Okay. And it just needs to curve around. Oh, sometimes it dries too quickly, like that. Dear me. Well, perfection would be boring, wouldn't it? There we go. That's better. But it's about trying not to get it. He's still got to look as though he's holding it in his paws, and I'll add the joins in afterwards. And because the joints, the finger, the paws, sorry, I'm now concentrating, you can tell, because I'm talking absolute rubbish. Not so much of a brew and a blether as a blue and a bleh. Right, so now I have to make sure that his tummy and his arms all meet up, and that his paws, then his arms are going to come round, and sometimes the candy floss goes away. It's because it's got to, I'm going to be fixing it at an angle. It's not just a straight, there we go. And then he's got to actually be licking it as well. So yeah, the placement of candy floss is an art, shall we say? Well, I'll say that. Thousands might not believe me, but anyway. So, and because the clay is quite soft, it's a very warm day today, very muggy. I can blend it with just the wet wipe instead of the clay shaper. So that's pretty much in already. And having the little touch of glue at the bottom will keep it more or less intact. And then, very gently, I'm just marking the paws, or his fingers, at a slight angle, just as the way that Bunny would do it. There we go. And there we go. There we have a little bunny munching some cotton candy. They are just, I have to say, I just think he's really, really on the cute side. Now there's some tidying up to do, some finishing off, but that's basically the finished bunny. Obviously quite a lot of work went on to prep it up to begin with, but I am going to, because I don't know that you can see, he is leaning at a bit of an angle backwards, and this is where his, oh, I haven't signed him yet either. So I use Bostik all-purpose glue. That's my go-to for things like bobtails, and then that'll glue and give him some stability when he's baking in there, you see. So he provides an extra. It's like having a little tripod there. Excuse me. And I shall just sign him now, because I haven't done that yet, and it's important to do that before they go in the oven, because otherwise trying to scrape out the size, you know, like a little slice of my signature cane, it's just not worth the hassle, basically. Now, which way round does it go? It's that way. Right, so on the bum, and then just pressed in with the clay shaper. It's quite a small one, but I've been rolling my this is my cane. It's tiny now because I use them for the bottom of the mouse paws. That they need to be very small. There can't be very much clay on there at all. Right, I think that's me. Oh, that's what I was going to show you very quickly. The the pile of, you will see them, I think, if I can get this right. So there's the pile. There's the brain. These are the mouse ears. Look, it's so messy. It's so messy. Oh, and this is my ring holder. It's a little bunny that I made after we got married. Well, after Enrique proposed to me, actually. So that's where he keeps my rings all day. Right, enough blethering. It's thank you for joining me. I shall come back to the bunny because it probably looks a bit nicer than the piles of ears and tails and stuff. But well, thank you, and I shall see you in the group tomorrow, I'm sure. But thank you for joining me. I'll catch up with your comments now because I just haven't had a chance to see them, if indeed you have left any. Have a lovely rest of the evening. Okay, I'll see you soon.